Imagine a world drowned in noise, endless chatter, ceaseless distractions, the constant pull of notifications demanding your attention. A world where silence is rare, almost taboo, and your value is measured by how loud you can shout or how fast you can respond. But what if the true power wasn't in speaking louder, or louder still? What if it was in silence, in focusing not on the noise outside but the universe within? At first, silence may feel like weakness, passivity, invisibility, a surrender. Yet, paradoxically, it is in silence that everything begins to fall into place. What you ignore when you quiet the world around you is often the very thing that controls you. Today we embark on a journey to uncover why silence, a seemingly passive act, holds a power so profound it can transform your life. Quietly, invisibly, but irrevocably. In a time when external validation rules and distraction is weaponized, turning your gaze inward and staying silent may be the most radical act of rebellion. This is not just about peace or calm. It's about reclaiming control over your mind, your choices, and ultimately your reality. But how did we arrive here? How did noise become the norm and silence the exception? And more importantly, how can embracing silence and self-focus shift the very fabric of your existence? To understand this, we must dive deep into the wisdom of ancient philosophers who revered silence as a source of power, into the psychology that reveals how silence shapes our brains, and into the modern battlefield of social manipulation, where silence is a secret weapon few dare to wield. The world may try to drown you in noise, confusion, and chaos. But when you focus on yourself and stay silent, the pieces begin to align. Everything falls into place. This is that story. Throughout history, silence has never been merely the absence of sound. It has been a language of its own, an expression of power, wisdom, and inner strength. In the East, ancient traditions like Taoism and Buddhism elevated silence to a sacred status. Lao Tzu, the mysterious sage behind the Tao Te Ching, taught that true knowledge arises from quietude, from the eye, space between words and thoughts. To speak less and observe more was to align with the natural flow of life itself, a flow that cannot be grasped by noise or force. Buddhism's emphasis on meditation and mindful silence was not about withdrawing from the world out of fear or weakness, but about mastering the self. Through silence, practitioners found clarity and freedom, detaching from the restless mind and the distractions of external chaos. It was in stillness that insight dawned, the realization that control over oneself was the foundation of any real power. Across the oceans, Western philosophy echoed these reverberations of silence's strength. Socrates, whose method relied on questioning and listening rather than dominating conversations, embraced silence as a path to wisdom. His famous assertion, "I know that I know nothing," was not a confession of ignorance, but an invitation to humility and reflection. It was through the silence between questions, through the pauses in dialogue, that truth slowly emerged. Nietzsche, often remembered for his critique of traditional values, saw silence as a form of resistance. In a society obsessed with conformity and loud declarations of power, choosing silence was a radical act, an assertion of individuality and strength. He understood that those who remain silent are often the ones plotting the deepest revolutions, not with weapons but with thought and will. But why has silence carried such weight? Because it demands restraint, the kind of self-mastery that the world rarely rewards. In every era, those who control their impulses, who do not rush to fill every void with words or noise, hold an invisible advantage. They see beyond the immediate, the superficial. They conserve their energy, waiting for the right moment to act or speak. Contrast this with modern society. We live in an age where silence is scarce and often feared. Social media, 24/7 news cycles, endless conversations. Our world is a relentless flood of voices competing for attention. In this chaos, silence is mistaken for weakness or exclusion. The loudest often dominate, and many confuse volume for truth or strength. Yet the lessons from history remain. Silence is not emptiness. It is a reservoir of power, a space where ideas ferment, clarity sharpens, and self-control is forged. This ancient reverence for silence was not about passivity. It was about turning inward, mastering the self, and in doing so, mastering one's destiny. Silence was a shield against manipulation and a tool for resistance, whether against oppressive rulers, societal pressure, or one's own destructive impulses. In understanding this, we begin to see how the modern obsession with noise serves as a mechanism to keep us distracted and compliant. The true power of silence, handed down through millennia, offers a path not just to peace but to empowerment, a power few choose to embrace, but one that can change everything. Silence is not just a philosophical ideal. It has profound effects on the brain and mind that modern science is only beginning to unravel. When we withdraw from noise and external distractions, our brains enter a state of calm and clarity. Neuroscientific research shows that silence reduces levels of cortisol, the stress hormone that floods our bodies in moments of anxiety and pressure. This reduction allows the nervous system to relax, lowering heart rate and blood pressure, and creating fertile ground for mental rejuvenation. Beyond physical relaxation, silence enhances self-awareness, the ability to observe one's own thoughts and emotions without judgment. This metacognitive process strengthens emotional regulation, allowing individuals to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. It's no coincidence that mindfulness meditation, which often involves sitting quietly and observing one's inner experience, has been linked to improved mental health, reduced anxiety, and increased resilience. But silence does more than just calm the mind. It opens the door to heightened cognitive states. Neuroscientists have identified what's called the brain's default mode network, a pattern of activity that kicks in when the mind is at rest, not focused on the outside world. This network is associated with introspection, creativity, and problem-solving. In silence, the brain shifts into this mode more easily, allowing ideas to connect in unexpected ways. Consider the concept of the flow state, a psychological zone, where a person is fully immersed, focused, and performing at their peak. While flow often occurs during active engagement, silence and solitude lay the groundwork for entering this state by clearing mental clutter and sharpening concentration. Studies demonstrate how silence and self-focus improve decision-making. For instance, experiments with leaders and strategists reveal that those who practice quiet reflection before acting tend to make more rational, effective choices. They are less swayed by emotional noise or peer pressure, able to see the broader picture and anticipate consequences with greater accuracy. This is why people who retreat from constant stimulation, whether by choice or circumstance, often emerge stronger and clearer. Their minds are not overwhelmed by competing demands, allowing for deeper insight and strategic thinking. One powerful example comes from the world of elite athletes. Many incorporate silent visualization and mental rehearsal into their routines, finding that moments of quiet focus amplify their performance far beyond physical training alone. Psychologists also point to the benefits of silence in social relationships. When individuals cultivate self-awareness and emotional regulation through quiet reflection, their interactions become more authentic and less reactive. Silence, then, becomes not isolation, but a bridge to deeper understanding, both of oneself and others. Yet this isn't about escaping reality or tuning out the world indefinitely. It's about carving out intentional moments of silence and turning inward to recharge and recalibrate. In a society that prizes constant activity and distraction, these moments of quiet are revolutionary. They grant us the clarity to break free from habitual patterns to see through illusions, whether those illusions are imposed by others or created within our own minds. The psychology of silence and self-focus reveals a hidden truth. Power does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers, quietly reshaping the way we think, feel, and act. When you learn to embrace that whisper, you begin to harness a strength that no external noise can drown out. In the modern world, silence is more than a personal practice. It is an act of resistance. The noise that surrounds us today is engineered. Social media algorithms, 24/7 news cycles, relentless advertising, all are designed to capture our attention, to keep us hooked, distracted, and compliant. This constant bombardment of information doesn't just overwhelm us. It fractures our ability to think critically and deeply. The louder the noise, the easier it is to control the narrative. Power structures rely on this noise to maintain their grippy. Propaganda and psychological warfare are not relics of the past. They are active, evolving strategies that manipulate perception and behavior. By flooding the mind with conflicting messages, emotional triggers, and sensational distractions, those in control ensure that the individual's focus remains fractured, their energy diffused. In this environment, silence and self-focus become revolutionary acts. To withdraw from the noise is to pull oneself out of the system of manipulation. It creates the mental space necessary to question, to analyze, and to see through illusions. History offers chilling examples. Consider how totalitarian regimes have used constant propaganda to drown out dissent, replacing truth with manufactured realities. They filled the airwaves, newspapers, and public squares with slogans, lies, and distractions, knowing that controlling the narrative meant controlling the people. Even in democratic societies, the use of media as a tool for shaping public opinion has become a subtle but pervasive form of control. The endless swirl of partisan news, celebrity scandals, and viral outrage keeps the masses occupied, preventing them from focusing on deeper systemic issues or their own empowerment. Silence disrupts this mechanism. When you refuse to be drawn into every controversy, every emotional tug, you reclaim your autonomy. Inward focus builds immunity against manipulation by fostering clarity and emotional resilience. The psychological warfare tactics used against populations often exploit fear, anger, and division. These emotions are powerful tools to fracture communities and keep individuals reactive rather than reflective. Silence, however, allows space for calm and perspective. It interrupts the cycle of reaction and triggers thoughtful responses instead. Moreover, silence cultivates awareness of one's own mental landscape, helping individuals recognize when they are being influenced unconsciously. This self-awareness is the first line of defense against manipulation, exposing the hidden scripts and agendas embedded in media and social discourse. By focusing inward, you step outside the crowd and gain a vantage point. From this position, you can discern truth from deception, pattern from chaos. In a world intent on loudness and distraction, silence is a radical refusal to be controlled. It is a quiet rebellion that empowers you to reclaim your mind, your voice, and your power. In this silence, you begin to see the world not as it is presented to you, but as it truly is, complex, layered, and often far from the noise you are told to believe. In a world spinning faster than ever, where chaos feels constant and overwhelm is the norm, the idea of focusing on yourself and embracing silence might seem almost impossible. Yet it is precisely what makes transformation possible. The first step is simple but profound: cultivating intentional silence. This doesn't mean withdrawing from life completely. Rather, it means carving out moments to step away from the noise, to slow down the relentless mental chatter, and to reconnect with your inner self. Whether it's 5 minutes of morning meditation, a walk without your phone, or simply sitting quietly before making decisions, these small acts build mental clarity. Mindfulness, a practice rooted in ancient wisdom but validated by modern science, teaches us to observe thoughts and feelings without judgment. This gentle awareness creates a buffer between stimulus and reaction, allowing you to respond rather than react. Over time, this strengthens emotional resilience, making it easier to navigate life's storms with calm and clarity. Another powerful tool is journaling, translating your inner world into words. This silent conversation with yourself unpacks Confusion reveals patterns and unlocks insights that often remain buried beneath surface noise. It's a way of focusing the mind and reflecting on what truly matters. Philosophical mindsets also play a crucial role. The Stoics, for example, taught the importance of controlling what is within your power and accepting what is not. This inward focus frees you from the anxiety of external chaos and cultivates peace in uncertainty. Their practice of daily reflection and mental rehearsal prepares the mind to remain steady amid turmoil. Stories of silent resilience abound. Consider activists who choose strategic silence, refusing to be baited by provocations, or artists who retreat into solitude to create work that challenges the status quo. Even leaders who listen more than they speak often hold the greatest influence because their power lies in thoughtful action rather than impulsive noise. These practices are not about escaping reality, but mastering it. By focusing on yourself and embracing silence, you reclaim mental sovereignty, the freedom to choose your thoughts, emotions, and actions rather than being controlled by external forces. In this clarity, decisions become more deliberate, relationships more authentic, and purpose more defined. The chaos outside no longer dictates your inner world. Instead, your silence becomes a source of strength, a space where everything begins to fall into place. This transformation is not sudden. It is a gradual unfolding, a silent revolution within that reshapes how you engage with life itself. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, you are not passive or powerless. You are cultivating the most profound power there is, the power over your own mind, and through it, your entire reality. The journey we've taken reveals a profound paradox. Silence, often mistaken for weakness or invisibility, is in fact the loudest, most disruptive force there is. When you focus on yourself and stay silent, you wield a power that shakes the very foundations of the external world, not through noise or aggression, but through unshakable inner control. This is the silent revolution within. It is a rebellion not against others, but against the chaos that tries to consume your mind and attention every moment. It is a refusal to be a puppet of distraction, manipulation, or noise. In silence, you reclaim your sovereignty. You become the master of your thoughts, the architect of your emotions, and the director of your actions. This power is not flashy or immediately visible, but it is the most enduring and transformative kind. The world may still roar around you, but your inner silence is an unbreakable fortress. You will find clarity where others see confusion, strength where others see vulnerability, and freedom where others feel trapped. Now, the question remains, will you dare to embrace this silence? Will you test the power of turning inward, of quieting the noise and trusting the stillness within? The path is not easy. It requires patience, discipline, and courage. But the reward is nothing less than everything: your mind, your peace, your true power. So take this moment, step into the silence, focus on yourself, and watch as everything begins to fall into place.